How is Kyle Kuzma the best player on the Lakers? Are the Clippers good enough to make the playoffs? Did the All-Star game just get better? The only question left is, say it with me, you in? Hey sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to the B-Ball Breakdown Podcast. Free at last, free at last. We have Dave Dufour back on the show after his tour, and I think Lonzo Ball drove him halfway back from, we should give him credit for driving you back halfway from the, where were you again?
I was in Canada.
In Canada, yeah, right? He did half the driving for you?
Yeah, he was definitely in the passenger seat, at least in spirit, even though he wasn't in the van.
Yes, absolutely. Well,
okay, look, let's start there. I'm glad you said that. Look, your tweet kind of gained some traction. Could we say that?
It's meme material now.
There you go. Okay. but the truth is, and everyone says this all the time, right? Passing is infectious. And we talked about this when Lonzo was drafted. We said, the type of player he is, where he's looking for those hit-ahead passes, where he's constantly looking up court, he's feeding the ball. He's one of those I'm not even going to call him a point guard, but he's one of those basketball players that kind of keep track. You can see him keeping track in his head. Okay, this guy hasn't touched the ball for a while, right? He's moving the ball around. He's doing it quickly. Like, that stuff catches on with the rest of the team, and you can see it by the way the Lakers are moving the ball. Now, I think part of that is also that's how Luke Walton wants them to play.
Yeah.
But it helps when you've got a guy on the court, especially in practice, kind of initiating that stuff. And I think it's a completely relevant point you were trying to make, and people just kind of took it the wrong way. But with that being said, I think, people understand what you're trying to say. Right. Everyone's just trying to make a joke all the time.
Well, people, I think, maybe not know who I'm talking about, but if they hadn't seen the tweet, basically Lonzo Ball's on the bench, and they had a fantastic up-court fast break, 4 passes for it, and then a lob for a dunk sequence. And I said that he's on the bench, but you can still see his influence, is what I said. And everyone is so binary on Twitter that I guess they seem to think that I wanted to completely take credit away from the actual players that did the play, and that was absolutely not what I was saying. And I think it's still clear when you look at what I wrote. And so that was what was initially frustrating, and then it just became a big joke. But I think the other thing here is that people who really were coming at me angrily about it, because first of all, it really frustrates me when I try and do something positive. I'm trying to highlight something that's really good, and then people just want to shit all over it just for the sake of doing that. I feel like I'm not even sure what that motivation is besides just being, social media. So that's frustrating. But I think that it's clear to me that anybody who comes at me hard for that stuff has never played with a good passer, like a really good passer. Now, I know we've talked about our games. I haven't played with you in a pickup game, but I pass like that. I throw all manner of crazy Magic Johnson passes. In fact, that was the thing. He's throwing another Magic Johnson pass. I would just try them. And you would see, first of all, people would cut more, which is great. But then other guys would get more involved, and they would begin to pass early. And that's what is sad in a way. People, they haven't experienced that. They don't get it, and that's too bad.
Yeah, so I'm a shooter, but I also love to throw passes. And, the Milos Teodosic full court underhand pass, I throw that almost every day with my team. I'm out there teaching that pass because I think it's a great pass. It's unconventional, but it works. You can be pretty accurate that way, and you can get a good amount of power, and I just feel like the angle is perfect. But, yeah, so I know what that's like, and I actually try to teach that and instill that in my team that I coach. I think that, it's a super relevant point. I think when the ball is moving, everybody's happy, and all it takes is one culture changer on the basketball court to make that stuff happen. So, it didn't take away from what the team was doing. It just said, hey, you can see a little bit of the Lonzo DNA in what they're doing when he's off the court. Anyway.
And I also get it. It's the father. The father has shit on him. There's a cloud hanging over him. People want to see him fail, and they want to see him, knock down 3 pegs because the father has said all this bullshit. And I understand that too. But it isn't fair because if there's anybody who actually plays the right way and is a model of behavior, it's Lonzo. He's quiet and he's a good teammate and all those things. So that's what's frustrating. But you know what? He'll earn it. He'll get him back. I'm sure he will. Those guys guys who are just naturally against him now because of all that will see what he's doing. It's genius. A couple plays I wanted to point out. I mentioned one of them in the last podcast with David Thorpe was Randall sprints to the block and like he throws the pass so early that he wasn't even looking and just whizzes by his nose out of bounds. And you could see Randall going, I better look up next time. And if I were Lonzo Ball, I would have hit him in the head with it. And you know what I mean? Like just hit him in the head and he'll look the next time. But then there's another time down when Ball was not on we didn't have the ball. He was up ahead and he cut along the baseline and he wanted an alley-oop. He was wide open. No one was guarding him in the sort of half delayed fast break. And guess who? It was Randall handling the ball and just didn't even look up, didn't even see it. You can see Lonzo Ball just gesture like, what the hell, man? Then they threw it to him late, and they created something out of it. So like the guy was like, oh, and then he tried to throw it. So it wasn't like he's like, I missed it. Sorry, we got to do something else. He did then try to get it to him and pass it, but you can see even with the cutting that he is seeing those openings a lot better than a lot of other guys.
Well, one of the big pluses to his game that you and I talked about quite a bit in the lead up to the draft was the way that he passes guys open. He not only hits the guy, but he also passes him to a spot where it's going to lead to a shot. And we saw that in summer league with Zubac and with Kuzma. And I know that we're about to talk about Kuzma, so I won't go too far in it. But Lonzo does a really great job. I mean, he's up there with some of the best guys I've ever seen, especially like as a rookie, in delivering those passes and getting guys open.
Oh, I know, and let's get to the point of like who the best player is in the Lakers right now, because I know I would get into weird territory in the past saying like a guy like Larry Nance Jr. like to me,
right,
and like kind of pound for pound because what he did contributed more to successful and winning basketball than anybody else in those teams the last couple of years. That's how I felt about it.
Right.
Not that he like can do more skill-wise than other players, but like just for raw, he's setting great screens, he's rim running, he's tipping balls in, he's grabbing rebounds, he's playing great defense, like all those things.
He maximizes talent.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, we'll look at it that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think I remember the backlash that you got for saying that.
Yeah.
But I understood what you were saying. Again, it's not about you weren't saying he's the most talented player on the roster.
Right.
You were just saying that when it comes to being a winning basketball player, like he did the most toward winning on that team. Again, right. Another good point. And
when you're trying to shift hearts and minds, okay, you kind of say, Larry Nance is the best player on the team. Okay, they'll prick their ears up and they'll look at it and then I see I see something there. Like that's also the point, the point about Steph's defense with that video I did, right? I feel like there was a shift. To some degree, we went from he is trash, he's no good on defense to at least, you know what? Yeah, he's good. He's not elite, man. F you, but still, I'll take it when they tell me, oh, he's good. That's all I would need, from that conversation, interaction, amidst all the vitriol. And all you need when trying to look stylish is Bombfell, an easier way for men to get better clothing. It's as simple as completing a questionnaire, which then gets you matched up with your very own dedicated personal stylist. I'm not saying you're going to be friends with them, but you're going to want to be when you see how well they match the clothes with your personal taste. When you sign up, you pay nothing. You only pay for the clothes you keep, free shipping and returns, and you can preview the clothes your stylist picked out for you before they send them. I'm literally wearing an awesome button-down shirt that Bombfell delivered right to my door. It's really soft, very high quality, makes me look thin, and it fits me like a ball swishes in the net. Well, you get the idea. And it doesn't stop there. Go to bombfell.com/Coach Nick. That's BOMBFELL.com/Coach Nick, and you'll get $25 off your first purchase. Imagine going to the mall to shop for clothes. Now imagine sitting on your couch with the game on and your feet up to shop for clothes. It's completely flexible. You decide how often you'll receive clothes, and you can pause or cancel at any time. You only pay for the clothes you keep, and they never charge above retail price. My favorite part is trying on all the clothes for my wife, and we do it just like a cheesy 80s montage, right down to the big thumbs up from her when she likes what Bombfell sent. So head over to bombfell.com/Coach Nick, save $25 on your first purchase, and start strutting down the street in some serious style. Plus, this is one of the best taglines I've ever heard. Check it out. Bomb fell. Open and clothes. So we're getting back to, again, the hyperbole, though, as far as who the best player is. Although I'm not so sure how hyperbolic it is. We have the guy. It's Kyle Kuzma. Certainly so far in the few games they played in the preseason, this guy has displayed every skill that he needs better than anybody else, right?
Yeah. I mean, he has shown that he has every offensive piece that you need to be a successful basketball player. And he's a rookie. And now I get he's 22 years old. Okay. And so a lot of people are going to say, well, he's old. This is garbage. Look, I know NBA scouts, and in the lead up to last year's draft with Thon Maker, they didn't care if he was 17 or 24. Mm-hmm. If he's a good basketball player, he's a good basketball player, and you still, have him for his prime. The thing about Kuzma is he might be closer to his final form, right? Like he may not have as much room for development, but guess what? He's a damn good player.
Yeah.
I'm not a gambler, but he's not even listed in the top 10 for odds for Rookie of the Year on Bovada. I would put money on that because he is going to play. He's going to score. And, I mean, he's going to be on the court. And that's half the battle in the Rookie of the Year thing. He doesn't have anyone. I mean, maybe Lonzo's splitting votes, but I think that those voters are going to look so much at counting stats. If there's a way that Kuzma could put up 16 to 18 points a game, which as of right now doesn't seem crazy because it's kind of what he's been doing since Summer League, I think he's got a good shot at Rookie of the Year.
Well, you're right, but there is a problem in that what you said as far as minutes. Minutes is going to be the key here. They've got Randall, they've got Dang, they've got Ingram, they got him. It's a bit of a logjam, I think. It's going to be an issue unless there's an injury or something that might or may not occur. But also leads me to believe that Randall should be on the block.
He is on the block, guaranteed.
But the problem for Kuzma is that to make him on the block and make him valuable, they're going to have to play him. And certainly in the beginning of the year, and hope he gets his double-doubles, and someone's like, damn, he's good. And he is good. I like Randall, sort of, but he doesn't really fit in. He over-dribbles, and he doesn't shoot that well, and he doesn't really have the right hand, even though he tries a little bit, and he's trying to get better at it. So it's like, I could see why he doesn't fit either way, and they're really looking at that. And I haven't heard anything in the block, but that's the case and good.
He's going to be a restricted free agent next summer.
So that's fine. That's good.
Right, so it makes sense to go ahead and move him. I mean, they should really be trying to move him before the season starts. Not, this isn't the type of thing that you want to carry in because you want to give the other team an opportunity to offer a rookie extension. So
and by the way, Kuzma is the power forward. Like this is what the power forwards will look like going forward. He's got good core strength. He's not huge. He's long. He can shoot it, and he can post up, and he can draw. He has all the skills of like a wing, but he's got enough size where he can then play that power forward. And again, that's what's going to happen. I think that this notion, like when we heard Paul George and Melo complaining about playing the 4, was some sort of antiquated notion from a few years before of how physical it can get, and I just don't think it is that way. I mean, I think if it's half as physical as it was 3 or 4 years ago, and it'll continue to get less, it'll just be like the 3 coming pretty soon.
Well, Steve Kerr talked about the death of the 4 or the power forward, and really now it's kind of more of a power wing. I stole that from Sam Esfandieri on Twitter. I think it's a perfect description. The 4 is these days a power wing. You and I have talked about it. There are essentially 3 wing positions now. The corner 3 is kind of created this new wing, right? Like, I mean, we wouldn't have the stretch 4 really if it wasn't for the corner 3 and teams leveraging the short corners. I mean, maybe we would just because guys are better shooters, but I think that the short corners kind of help speed that along. And so, yeah, power wing. I mean, you look at like Draymond Green completely killed the idea of what a 4 is because he's not even a 4, right? Like he's not even a power wing. Like, what is Draymond Green?
Yeah, I mean, he has the power part to some degree. I mean, he's physical and he'll make it tough. That's he's the guy you don't want to guard.
Right.
But again, he's probably at his most devastating like that when he's playing center anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we could say it's Draymond, I guess, in the modern era or the most recent era. I mean, but the problem is you had Sam Perkins and you had Tony Kukoc and you had Kukoc might be even more of an apt 4. Then they started playing him there because he did the say he would drive and he'd shoot as well. Whereas and Perkins would Perkins would shoot, but Perkins wouldn't drive. Schrempf, another one, yeah. And they probably, he might have only played, 10% or 20% at power forward, but they did it. Right. So, but either way, there's no question that that's what we're going to, and that's why you're going to have, it's not going to be an issue. People aren't going to be complaining about how physical it is down there. And the league itself is probably going to get less and less physical, I'd imagine, which is fine with me. I don't mind, watching the Lakers do what they do. And by the way, to get back to the Lonzo Ball and the fast breaking and all that stuff, it's like, it's almost, when you're sitting there watching it, you kind of get, you're like, you sit up a little bit more, and there's like energy coming out of the TV because it's that fast and it's that, sort of frantic, but like with purpose. And that's what's the difference, I think, that we're seeing now. And that's probably what's going to happen from a lot of the league, right? We're just going to see the pace, I would imagine, will continue to maybe not skyrocket, but really continue to go up. Yeah,
I'm with you.
So Kuzma, I'm way in on, and I was watching some of the highlights of him and stuff. He's got every move, and it's exciting to see. Right, and
even a little bit of the dream shake, by the way.
Oh, I know.
I mean, his footwork is impeccable. Anyway, I don't want to sit here and just fawn over Kuzma.
Okay,
for
but the real quick
minutes,
point I wanted to make was so what are these 22? This is not a 23 and under league.
Exactly.
and so it's like you'll have him for 10, 12 years. Like either way, you'll have him for, so maybe you don't get an extra year or two in the end of the career. Who cares? It's like you're going to get the prime. So it's very strange. And again, I guess people just want to, shit on people.
I'm not saying that Kuzma is these guys, but Dame and CJ came in late too, right? Like, and no one's questioning whether or not those guys are worth the max deals that they've got. So, look, I mean, now certainly we should probably pump the brakes just a little bit, right? Because it is summer league in the preseason. But the skills that he's showing, they're going to translate. I just think that the guy can play.
All right, you're getting your wet blanket out of your van right now, but okay.
But hey! But remember, I've been leading the charge on Kuzma. I love him. I think he's good, but at the same time, I do also understand it's early, small sample size theater.
That is true. I'm doing a video, by the way, on what the power, like how the power and power forward has disappeared or is gone. I'm looking for a catchy title, so feel free to send me one. But something like that.
Power wing, man. The power wing.
No, I don't think the power is there. I don't think we need that.
It's a way to kind of bridge the gap, Because it's hard to just go,
I'm looking for the missing link. I want to jump over, a phylum or whatever, and then get right to the next iteration.
There you
go. So,
all right.
And the next evolution of fantasy sports is on FanDuel. There's fantasy football right now, and thank the basketball gods that the NBA season starts in just a few days. At FanDuel, there is something for everyone. Tons to choose from starting at $1. Just pick a contest, choose your team, and watch your score in real time. I know I'm on the edge of my seat down to the last second, wondering if D'Antoni is going to sit Harden down with a 10-point lead and 2 minutes left. And best of all, finding those diamonds in the haystack, which we will help you with all season long. Over 2.5 million people have won cash at FanDuel, so get started by visiting FanDuel.com/CoachNick, or just use the promo code CoachNick and get a free contest and a shot at a share of $10,000. So head over to FanDuel, click the Join Now button, and make your sports more exciting. What else are we going to talk about today?
The Clippers look fun.
Oh, yeah. And speaking of pace, by the way, do you hear all the there's like subtle shade going on against or over CP3, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was a contentious locker room. You and I have talked about Chris Paul's abrasiveness on the court and how that might not be the most constructive thing for a team leader to do to his teammates. Like the way that he kind of gets into guys, it's not the best. And you could tell that. I mean, it had been a while, right, with that group, and I think that after a little while, personalities start to grate on each other, and he clearly was rubbing people the wrong way. And they're playing with like a renewed sense of vigor. The ball's moving, right? There's no ball pounding at all. You could say that's maybe it could be Teodosic, the Teodosic effect. It could be Pat Beverly.
It could also be Lonzo Ball.
It could be Lonzo Ball. It could also just be like, they're playing with some more joy. Like, they look fun, man. Gallo looks good. Blake looks really good. His shot is a little bit cleaner. He still needs to work on it. Needs to turn his feet a little bit more.
Wes Johnson was hitting some shots. Like,
I know. And so now I still think they're going to miss the playoffs just because I think talent does matter. Yeah, I think they're going to miss the playoffs. But
wow.
The West is just so freaking brutal. But they're going to be fun to watch, man. Like they're definitely in my top, 5, I think, on League Pass stuff. Mostly because I'm the biggest Milos Teodosic homer in the world. I mean, I don't know, homer. I'm not Serbian, so I don't know. Can I be a Teodosic homer?
No, well, you can't be more of a homer than me because you didn't do a video that declared him the best passer in the world.
You're right. Well, he's the second best passer in the world because I'm still alive. But no.
Okay.
No, Teodosic is fun, man, and he's showing a lot of the stuff that I knew he would bring. He's also showing a lot of the warts, right? Like the inability to defend on dribble.
Yeah, it's really
on ball. And, he's struggling with his shot a little bit more than I expected right now. I think it'll come, though. I mean, you remember, taking a step back from the feeble line to the NBA three-point line, it just to wrap your mind around where your feet are going and all that stuff, like it can be a little bit different. But he really needs to be able to stick that mid-ranger when it opens up. That's one of the things that the Clippers may miss with Chris Paul being out or being gone is that, Chris Paul was able to leverage the vertical spacing that DeAndre created and stick those 18 and 19 footers. And so, like, if Teodosic can do that, I mean, he can be on the court offensively. But if not, I don't think the passing is going to keep him there. But he did have like 8 assists in that first preseason game in like
10 minutes.
Was it 10 minutes?
Yeah,
I mean that's. He and DJ already have a connection, and that's awesome.
Right, and believe me, there's no issue with the whole vertical spacing there. He's gonna do that and find him. And he already has. It's been 50 put alley-oop passes to him. And then, and Beverly is a whole other animal. I can't get over how even in the preseason he's picking up 60 feet chest to chest, and he can do that. Like it's so hard in this league to actually maintain that kind of contact with the man who can dribble like pros can do in the pros. And he just really, and he's doing it now. I worry he's going to wear out, but I do feel like Teodosic is going to ultimately force Doc Rivers to start him over his son. I feel like that him and Beverly, Teodosic and Beverly would probably work better for Teodosic. And I think would also, to mitigate his defensive issues, and he got blown by a couple, just kind of loses his track. He doesn't think the guy, he's probably used to Europe where the guy, when he starts dribbling to the top, is just going to set up an offense. And here, the point guard's just going to cross over and go right by you again. I suspect what he's going to end up doing is giving the guy, 6 feet of cushion and just sort of getting a hand up for the three and just stopping the layups at least, and then hoping the threes miss a little bit. It's probably what he's going to have to do, and that might be enough.
Yeah, I think if you play him with DJ and Pat Beverly and Wes Johnson, I think that's enough defense on the court to kind of help prop him up a little bit. I'm not sure if he's going to start or if he ought to start. Austin Rivers is kind of a weird guy to fit with Lou Williams. They both are sort of good at one thing. I mean, Lou Williams is better than Austin Rivers at scoring, but Austin Rivers is basically, he's only good with the ball in his hands. He can't really shoot well enough to play off the ball. At least Lou Williams can play off the ball. And I mean, if I'm bringing a guy off the bench, it's going to be Lou Williams over Austin Rivers. But
if I were Teodosic, I'd be really frustrated playing with Lou Williams. I feel like that's a different. The way Lou plays is a lot different than anybody he's played with before. Just like such a ball dominant guy who wants to then shoot it as well. That I wonder. I feel like Teodosic is going to end up without the ball, sort of waiting for it to come, and it might not come a lot because Lou's going to bring it up, or he'll get it and he'll just do and that's what he's being paid for. So I think the point we're making here is that Doc has his hands full with what the hell he's going to do with these players to figure out the right combination. And if he does, I have no doubt they make the playoffs if he can figure out the right lineups.
Yeah, and again, this is one of my issues with the Clippers. I think that their ceiling is a 7 or 8 seed, and their floor depends on health so much, right? If Blake and Gallo can both stay healthy, right, they could be a 7 or 8 seed.
Oh,
maybe
come
a
on.
6
No. They could be higher than 7th.
Hang on. The top 4 spots are Warriors, Spurs, Rockets, Thunder, right?
So give them 5th.
Okay, so do you think they're better than Minnesota? Are they better?
I think that they could be. I mean, Minnesota is completely unproven. So
I agree. I agree with you. I actually think Minnesota in the conversation more for that 7 or 8 spot than 5 or 6.
Yeah, no, there's no question in my mind that their ceiling has to be 5th, and we're talking about ceiling, right? That's if things go well and they get everything lined up.
Sure,
the right way.
Yeah. If everything works perfectly, Teodosic somehow is able to be passable as a defender and can shoot 40% from 3, and Austin Rivers is traded for some kind of wing. They could definitely be the 5th seed, but
right. Well,
I just don't see all that.
Yeah, Rivers has no trade value, I don't think, so that's a problem. But I mean, Gallinari, he'll remind us that he is a very good. But then I think Blake Griffin has been looking a little more explosive this year. He looked to me like he went to the hole a couple times strong. Like I was like, oh, I forgot that he did that. Finished with an and one on one off the glass. Still has crazy. I mean, the post ups are just still insane. Back to the baskets, twisting, corkscrew stuff. But he definitely seemed like he remember when by the end of last year he wasn't moving well at all. Like he couldn't even really sprint. So that's better. And that's let's not forget the dude is an all-star and a 24-10 guy when he's healthy. So, and then you got DeAndre Jordan. I mean, they have the pieces, I think, to do well and really cause problems. And that's why the West is going to be ridiculous because Denver has got some really good pieces. Minnesota has some really good pieces. I mean, Portland made it, and has pieces as well. I
think Portland's the 5 seed, by the way.
I think that they might not make it. They could not make the playoffs.
Oh man, but Nurkic is a huge difference maker for that team.
That is true, and they did play do you remember what the record was? I mean, it was really much better when he got there.
They were really good. Their defense was top 10 once he got there.
In fact, you could argue that they were going to tank when they got him.
They were definitely in a weird spot. Right. I called for the tank for them at the beginning of last year because I feel like they were one piece away, and then they got Nurkic. Right. Now, maybe they should tank this year and try to get one more piece, but I don't think that's happening.
Damian won't let him, and CJ won't let him do that, I'm sure. But yeah, I remember being in Minnesota and for the Timberwolves Portland game, and that got canceled, believe it or not. That game got canceled because of, oh my God, what was it, the air conditioning? No, I know. Something about the air conditioning wasn't working well enough, and the ice underneath was making it wet on the floor.
Right.
But but I remember Coach Stotts talking about it and sort of still mystified that Nurkic was doing so well for them, and they kind of had to readjust all their plans because of that. And so, which is great. And so now they have something. You're right. The West just continues to become it's too difficult, and it's almost kind of unfair. I don't know if there's a solution to doing that, but I guess the NBA is at least trying to muck around with the All-Star game to make that different and maybe more equitable.
Yeah, going to having playground style, picking captains and then having them select a team. I don't know, man. I'm not a fan of it. I like that they're gonna play for a charity, but I think that the picking teams thing is a little bit childish, and also it's gonna just lead to some weird. There's gonna be some weird drama and narratives that come out of it. And I honestly, I would rather they did it via lottery. We're just gonna randomly assemble the team, right? Mm-hmm. The 2 teams, and just go from there, or just keep it East versus West, because the problem is not East versus West. I mean, you can assemble an all-star team from the East that's nearly as good as the one from the West. The problem is that the guys don't try hard, and it's a shitty product, and nobody wants to watch it. And so the charity thing should help with that. I mean, either that or pay the guys, right? Well, hey, if you win, you get $1 million. How about that?
Yeah. I mean, it would have to be probably $1 million, something pretty high, right?
A piece, right? You all get $1 million each. If you lose, you get 0. I mean, you know what I mean? Really call in that pride.
Nothing. That is interesting. Maybe the losers pay the winners $1 million. How about that?
Then they'd have to play the game in Vegas.
You know what? If you did it that way, you could probably do it as low as $50,000. I bet you if they had to pay $50,000 if they lose, even that or $100,000, they would try. But Yeah, it's too bad because we used to have them try a little bit. Even back in the '80s, I don't think it was that great of a product either, but it was a little bit better. Now it's like the Pro Bowl, I suppose. They just don't seem to really care, and I don't think anyone. As soon as the game gets on, I remember like you're on social media or whatever. Everyone's just like, they got like half an eye on it, and they're watching, Survivor. Or whatever.
Exactly.
So,
and the thing about the Pro Bowl with the NFL, I understand completely, man. Like, it's a dangerous sport.
You want to get into that?
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, like, the football is a dangerous sport, so I understand. I mean, I think they should just switch it to flag for the Pro Bowl, right?
Oh, that's interesting.
No helmet, no pads.
Two-hand touch.
It would make the guys a little bit more marketable, right? Like, I mean, not two-hand touch, two flag, and it's a chance to get those guys' faces on camera. This is why the NBA has all the best marketable athletes, because you see their faces all the time, right? I mean, it's the NFL, like, it's only the quarterback. And that's it. Like, nobody else is really doing anything. So, and not that I care, but for the All-Star game for the NBA, I just think this is a weird way to do it. And again, I would just have them like, hey, you make $1 million a piece if you win, and if you lose, you win nothing. Yeah,
I like it.
Don't tie it to home court advantage in the finals. Don't do any other weird stuff where it matters, to regular season. In any sort of way to the regular season. It's an exhibition, and that's what it ought to be. As a matter of fact, like, I'm actually a fan. The one thing that the NFL does do right, I think, is having the Pro Bowl after the season, because then, like, you get what I'm saying? Like, think about these pickup runs that we keep seeing on social media, right? We would kill to be at some of these. Maybe you do it that way, where it's just a pickup run and there's no one in the audience. I mean, I know you got to
do it at a summer league in Vegas or something like that.
Yeah, that would be fun. But with that being said, the NBA All-Star Weekend itself is still okay, right? I mean, I know everybody was out on the dunk contest for a while, but I don't know. Are we back in on the dunk contest?
I mean,
we need
listen, there was Aaron Gordon stuff, but that was, I think, now 2 years ago, right? When
Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine.
And that stuff was like, now we have a whole new level of creativity. So, I think we're kind of getting back into it, but I don't know.
But not having superstars participate in the dunk contest hurt the dunk contest for a long time. And, the Jordan Dominique Wilkins era, right? Like, that made the dunk contest, and then we went a long time. I mean, Kobe,
right? Jordan, Dominique, Tom Chambers, that was a.
Hey, Tom Chambers, man, that dude could get up, man.
He could get up. But I remember when he did it was in Seattle. He was like the hometown guy, and like he just didn't have any flair or style, and he was kind of laughing too. But he could get up without question. So
very vanilla.
What's that?
He was very vanilla.
Very vanilla. Yes. Well, I guess we can wrap this up. I'm kind of curious, being, related to somebody in the armed forces. Take a knee?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. Look, the military doesn't own patriotism, which actually, I don't want to go into this, but I think patriotism, to a certain extent, is a negative, actually, because it leads us to really weird places as human beings. Like, it increases the tribalistic instincts that we have inside of us, and it allows us to the rise of nationalism in Germany, right? Like, we have all of the video, we have audio, we have the newspaper clippings. We can go back and we can read this stuff. And as a student of history, like, I'm very familiar with the role that patriotism played in all that and nationalism, and I think that that's dangerous. But also, I don't think that the national anthem should be played before sporting events. I just don't see a place for it. We have separation of church and state. And the biggest thing about that is separating the state from regular life. Like, it's not just that the state can't interfere with religion and that religion shouldn't interfere with government. It's also that the state shouldn't interfere with your regular life. And I'm sorry, but when you start playing the anthem at daily events, like, you're really encroaching upon my everyday life. I mean, they do that at military bases. They play it every day. And other countries don't do this stuff, right? Like, they just, it's not like this in other places. And I'm sure I'm going to catch some backlash for this, but I don't really care. It's honestly, it's one of the weirdest things about America when you travel and you see the rest of the world and how they don't identify themselves only as the country that they're from. It's actually pretty nice. Like I am more than just an American. I'm Dave. I'm a human being. I'm all these things, right?
You're that guy, Dave.
That's right. And so I actually think that, I'm totally fine with taking a knee. I fully stand with those guys or kneel with those guys, as the case may be. I support the cause. I think that, police, militarization of police, violence from the police, and for whatever the reasoning is, whether it's systemic racism or whether it's we don't invest enough in training people or, we can't get the best and the brightest because we don't pay cops enough. Like, there's obviously different levels to why it's happening, but it is happening. Like, it's undeniable. And think about this. We wouldn't know about this stuff, and we didn't know it was like this. We heard, but we didn't know until we got cell phone cameras. Right. And now there are cameras everywhere, and we have proof, and there are still people that argue against this. It's just insane to me. And I can't wrap my head around that part. But yeah, take a knee. Take 2 knees.
Well, I think the problem is that it becomes conflated with this notion that you're protesting the flag or you're protesting the U.S., which is, the process is pretty specific and clear of what they're protesting. And because of that, anybody I've talked to that has served in the armed forces, to a man or a woman, has said, I fought so that they can do that. And they don't feel slighted that they're taking a knee. Yet the people that I know that are against it, who didn't serve in the military, use that as an example. Oh, they're disrespecting the people who fought and died. And it's like, it's really hard to wrap my head around that, because it's not intelligent. It's not intellectually honest, that argument.
In my experience, politicians and people love to wrap themselves in the troops whenever something happens that insults their sensibilities just a little bit. Yeah. And this is just about, like, I don't know a single person who is anti-kneel that doesn't also realize when you sit and talk to him for 20 minutes that it is a problem that cops shoot innocent people. Right. Like, and even not innocent people, just shooting people in general. Like, we are allegedly a nation of laws, and yet we have people out there acting like Judge Dredd on the police force, and this just is not how civilized society is supposed to operate. Yeah, they don't have. In Germany last year, they fired 6 bullets in the entire country. The police did.
Right. And by the way, why are the police on edge and so wary of the people and whatever? Because they might have a gun. And we've seen that. And now we've seen the price we've had to pay to have these guns be so easily accessible, and which is a whole other story. But it's certainly they're all connected. And it's like this weird, this weird notion of Second Amendment. There's no leeway at all, because what's next? Then we can't ban this little part of it, because then the next thing will be you take all of our guns. Which, by the way, if they could pass a law that it made guns illegal in the world, I'd pass it tomorrow. Without question, with my mind. There's no need for certainly these kind of assault weapons that are available. And if you want to hunt and do all that shit, then just go get a bow and arrow and have at it.
Well, I mean, I actually don't have a problem with hunting rifles, and I don't have a problem. The AR-15 has. I mean, this is turning into stick to sports, but I don't care. The AR-15 has no place in a private arsenal of any sort. Right. It really just doesn't. It is literally an assault rifle. That's what the AR stands for. It's a terrible weapon for self-defense, so that's a shitty argument. You can't hunt with it because it destroys the meat. There's just no excuse for having that unless you're worried about, a tyrannical government overrunning you, in which case, go buy an F-15. Because you don't have planes, you're done. So anyway, it's just a dumb argument. But what I will say is that I am a staunch First Amendment person. Like, I'm anti-punch a Nazi because I don't have a problem with people expressing their ideas, and they could be shitty, and you'll know who they are, and the free market will take care of this. But like, I'm also anti-violence, so I can just choose not to listen to that guy or counter argue with much better arguments about why he's an idiot. And but I'm not anti-Second Amendment, but I definitely think that the AR-15 is a terrible weapon to have in the hands, as we just saw in Vegas, which was horrific. Right. It's a terrible weapon to have in the hands of normal people. So
Well, I tell you what, I am all for punching Nazis. I will not judge you if you do. And so if you need some refuge over this way, if you have, then come find me. I will protect you. And you're right to punch Nazis. So, at any rate, Dave, great conversation overall. And really, with Kuzma, we're all in on. Keep your eye on him. And then the Clippers as well. We'll have to battle that out all season long to see what's going to happen. And that's about it. We'll have to get back on this our regular schedule, or certainly a regular Monday pod is going to have to start happening ASAP.
Oh yeah, well I'm assuming we're going to go at least twice a week starting next week. We gotta get these fire takes off. We gotta do our little season preview and predict awards and all this stuff. So
all right, we'll do that on
I'm
Monday.
assuming we have a full slate coming up.
We'll kick it off on Monday, and we'll do our Monday Fridays, and so make sure everyone stays tuned, and also get your damn iPad, your podcast apps tuned up so that they're like alerting you to these things. Because I cannot stand my iPhone app, which doesn't tell me if I haven't listened to like one or two in a row. It simply will stop telling me that there's new ones. Or unsubscribing from the podcast. It's terrible. So. Get all that tuned up. Get ready for an onslaught of video and audio and written from B-Ball Breakdown across the web. And again, thanks for joining us, Dave. Always a pleasure. And don't forget, sports fans, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You in? Are you in, Dave?
Yes, I am.
I think we need to do a new version of that for this year.
Yeah, we should.